Well, it's fair to say that Donald Trump has absolutely been on a tear lately. Yep, to the disdain of some, including now Ben Shapiro, that isn't too pleased with the JFK file revelations. What is going on here? As you're going to see in this particular video, he doesn't have the best track record to controversial issues when they actually matter. As, of course, whenever you get too close to the truth, you always have a bunch of people screaming, conspiracy theory! The word for, of course, the people who don't really have a legitimate argument, but want to muddy the waters and destroy any legitimate conversation from taking place when it just gets too close to comfort. As now we have individuals like Joe Rogan asking, hey, who took out JFK? And a lot of people have their own particular conclusions to what happened here with this particular incident, especially with all the documents that people are shifting through. But according to Ben Shapiro, you better not be asking those questions because who cares? It happened a long time ago. Here's the clip that I believe is essentially the worst take of the week. This might be a recurring segment here on this channel, so subscribe, click the notification button. And here's Ben Shapiro himself in a clip that he individually posted on Instagram, by the way.
Sort of conspiracy theorizing that's become incredibly popular on the right these days. It was
this is how popular is on the right. It used to be on the left. Yeah. Now the left. Now the right's becoming like that. I see what you're doing here, Ben. Okay. Let's be real with ourselves. Conspiracy theorists? Batting 100. We've been right about the mandates, about the lockdowns, about the wars, about the larger financial scams that have been happening, the larger kind of bureaucratic deep state. And now, as we're learning through these JFK files, yeah, everything that we've been saying about the regime change, the biological warfare, the political psychological warfare, the global media control, mass propaganda that has been discovered through these JFK files, all of that's coming true. And it's no longer conspiracy theory. It's reality, as a lot of people have said that conspiracy theorists are essentially just modern-day spoiler alerts or individuals who are just way ahead of history before it actually happens. And again, yes. There are a bunch of crazy people that take it too far, obviously. But when it comes to trust, there's a reason why people do not trust the media, do not trust the government anymore. And that's because everything that they tried to do against us was exposed and was first initially called a conspiracy theory. Well, guess what? Those conspiracy theories have been a lot more right than the corporate establishment media, which some people believe the Daily Wire represents. Here's Ben Shapiro continuing on in his false dichotomy and assertions, trying to link left-wingers with right-wing conspiracy theorists. And again, it's called skepticism. You should try it sometime. It's called discernment. You should try it sometime. It's called not just reading the pamphlets from Pfizer and then regurgitating them and thinking that they're the 10 Commandments, okay? That's the difference here.
It was popular on the left, and now it's become increasingly popular on the right.
Look at the distinct.
The kind of, let's just ask questions. We'll ask who really killed JFK? Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Oh, come on. Really? Really?
And then you're like, well, do you have any evidence of the thing that you are presupposing? Well, no, I'm not making any accusations. I just know I don't believe the story that I'm being told. I know not to trust the authorities. You're like, well, that's fine.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
But do you have like any evidence? Like evidence, not just supposition. I said, well, you're part of it, aren't you? You.
No, that's a false dichotomy then. This is so infuriating because these statements are just not factually true at all. Do conspiracy theorists have facts? Yeah, we have documents. We have the JFK documents. We have Operation Northwoods. There's so many other documents, the MK Ultra documents, the Church Commission hearings that provided a crap ton of documents that proved a lot of very sinister, evil doings from within our very own frickin' government. So yeah, a lot of the times we do have the receipts here. Now, again, it depends on who exactly you're talking about. But whenever you throw this kind of blanket kind of derogatory term that has been weaponized, are you freaking kidding me? that right there is just stopping a legitimate conversation from taking place in the first place. And I think you know that.
Yes, you're part of it. The reason that you're so defensive about all this is, I don't care who killed JFK. I mean, I do, because it's really interesting. But I noticed that the calendar says 2025, and he was killed in 1963. And so my opinion about who killed JFK has about as much relevance as who killed William McKinley, or James Garfield, which is to say, not an enormous amount.
Yeah, I just don't care. It happened a long time ago. Really? Really, Ben? The comments here. We're going to read the comments in a little bit. They're pretty spicy, but a lot of people are bringing up his old tweets saying the only time matters to Ben Shapiro, as he specifically described the historical context when it comes to the 1947 war, the 1956 war, the 1967 war, the 1973 war, the first Intifada, the 2000 Intifada, and also goes on and on and on, bringing up history there that just is irrelevant after a certain time, that it's not useful to him or his larger ideological bent, which clearly he is representing here. He even talks about the long history of 136 CE, 1984. Oh, look at that history. Ben has been saying this for quite a while, with issues that are just a little bit too inconvenient for him. This is what he had to say about the USS Liberty.
I have to say, I'm a little bit bewildered why you're so obsessed with an incident that is now 52 years old.
Yeah, you're just obsessed with the past. That's totally irrelevant here. There's a compilation here that someone made here that perfectly represented all of this. But before getting into it and talking about his track record, which isn't the best here, we'll get into that in a little bit. We want to tell you about thebestpoliticalshirts.com, where you can get shirts like the one that I'm wearing right now, all exclusively by going to the link down in the description below. If you want to find the shirt that I'm wearing right now, you just type in a keyword. So right now I'm wearing Donald Trump in a fake digitally altered mugshot that was pretty funny. And all you have to do is type in Trump into the search here on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. You scroll a bit down, and bada bing, bada boom, it is right here. My Tupac Shakur one, my Thug Life Donald Trump one is pretty funny too. But this one's great too. We got a lot of great shirts available to you here on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And truly, it's a perfect way of speaking and representing your ideas through a visual, artistic kind of format that a lot of people don't take advantage of. You know, a lot of merchandise is just like, yeah, I just buy my stuff. No, I want to not just send a message. I want you to meet people. I want you to raise some eyebrows. I want you to turn some heads. And trust me, the shirts we have on thebestpoliticalshirts.com do that. If you're an introvert, you're a loner, you're an only child, you have a hard time making friends, perfect way to make friends, meet like-minded individuals, and do your own lazy form of activism, as I think it's more important than ever for all of us to get active and engaged and be a part of the conversation, since there's so many people just trying to undermine that conversation, muddy the waters, destroy legitimate conversation that gets a little bit too close to comfort, as the reaction to Ben Shapiro. Because Ben Shapiro posted this on his own Instagram account. Like, this is the stuff he decided to highlight from his podcast. This is the stuff that he decided to show everyone. It's not a clip that, because again, when you do podcasting and when you do videos, and sometimes you're just on for 2 hours, you just start talking, and stuff just comes out. No, this is the stuff that he specifically wanted to highlight, wanted to show everyone, and he posted it on his Instagram account that has 4.3 million followers. And all of the comments, they're either very spicy, very aggressive against them. Some would say racist against them, but some of the more rational ones are the ones saying this. Unfortunately, a bad take, to be honest. It doesn't matter if it was 1 year ago or 100. If the government killed JFK, that shows that they would take out anyone for political purposes. And it matters because Donald Trump just had shots fired at him. Another person responded, this guy should start a comedy show. Yes. And, a lot of people are bringing up other countries and alliances. Someone said we need to collectively rediscover Occam's razor. And I agree. Other people are talking about the downfall of Ben Shapiro, the Daily Wire. And again, look, Ben is who Ben is. And clearly, he comes from a different ilk than a lot of the people that come from the online space. He comes from a more very conservative neocon kind of base, a kind of John McCain base, a George W. Bush base, which under his leadership absolutely wrecked this economy, wrecked our national security, destroyed our Bill of Rights, and then set up us on adventures geopolitically that made Iran more stronger through, of course, the Iraq War, which Ben Shapiro was a big cheerleader for. He was like, yeah. What happened with the war in Iraq? It was a huge, grave mistake and stain on American history. It led to what I believe the international community looking at the United States in a distasteful way. America's reputation was damaged because of what we did in Iraq. We have spurred on radical jihadism. Iran only became more powerful. And then what did we get in response in response to this larger endeavor that he was for? Nothing, except for just global terrorism. There was also another issue, specifically when it came to a specific procedure where Ben Shapiro was all for it. Now, respectfully, he did change his mind on a lot of these particular issues, but he always seems to be on the wrong side here. Specifically, releasing this all the way back in 2016, saying, I will never vote for Donald Trump. Here's why. The Daily Wire. Bad to take here. He also came out 2011. Ron Paul has no shot of being the nominee. Why? Because on foreign policy, he's a dumbass. Really? Really? Looking back at all of our endeavors, all the mistakes, all of the horrible tragedies and deaths, you're going to say Ron Paul was wrong here? I mean, we have a T-shirt that says, if I told you so was a person, and has a picture of Ron Paul. There's a reason Donald Trump was campaigning on a lot of the principles that Ron Paul used to run in 2011 and 2008. When Ron Paul was running, he was getting more support from the military than anyone else. Now, Ben Shapiro has been a big cheerleader of Donald Trump's more kind of aggressive neoconservative policies. And he has tweeted things like this: the flavor, revenge, it was a dish best served cold. Sorry. Let me. The flavor, revenge, it was a dish best served. That's Ben Shapiro. That's my. Sorry. As he talked about how Donald Trump launched airstrikes. It's great. Yeah, good. Very presidential. Along with the corporate media cheerleading this on. And again, I think what we're seeing is self-righteousness. I think what we're seeing is hubris, it's arrogance, and truly, I couldn't disagree with this man more. As someone made this very handy kind of compilation saying, who cares?
They talk about the USS Liberty incident. I have to say, I'm a little bit bewildered why you're so obsessed with an incident that is now 52 years old. If you have theories that are better than those of the American government, they've got operators standing by, feel free to dial them and tell them about your 5-decade-old theories about a military incident from the 1967 Six-Day War. It's of direct and vital interest now in 2019.
I don't care who killed JFK. I mean, I do, because it's really interesting. But I noticed that the calendar says 2025, and he was killed in 1963. And so my opinion about who killed JFK has about as much relevance as who killed William McKinley, or James Garfield, which is to say, not an enormous amount.
A few moments later.
According to the Bible and certain interpretations of contemporaneous archaeology, Joshua entered the land of Israel in 1400 BC. The kingdom of David was founded around 1000 BC. The first temple of Solomon was built in approximately 957 BC.
Again, we all have our particular points of view. We all have our biases, clearly. I think Ben Shapiro's bias is very much showing here. Now, again, he has a way of changing his mind, and he did correct some of his viewpoints that he previously addressed that were pretty controversial during the key moments where they mattered the most, in my opinion. To me, there's a lot of problems over at the Daily Wire, but they are an extremely successful media platform. Ben Shapiro, extremely successful individual when it comes to this media landscape, and there's no underplaying that. He works very hard. He is very smart. He's very intelligent. But on this one particular point, I think he is absolutely freaking wrong. I think he has a long track record of being wrong on a lot of these policies, and that's because he comes from a different ideological perspective. I come from a perspective where a lot of kind of discernment is needed to interpret a lot of the things that have been happening here. And then hindsight, I would argue that our point of view here, the conspiracy theorists or the more skeptical individuals in our society, have been absolutely right. And I think that skepticism has saved us. And I think that skepticism is something that Donald Trump has embodied his presidential run-in. And it's why he is who he is and why he's releasing the documents, keeping his promise on it, and trying to represent himself as an anti-establishment figure. Because if Donald Trump did everything that Ben Shapiro would want him to do and is pushing him to do and is advocating and celebrating the things that he's doing when he did in 2016, we would have another Bush presidency, which I would argue has been one of the worst presidencies on America in recent history. If you look at the total damage, if you look at the problems that were created, if you look at the debt that was created, if you look at the mistrust that was spread all around the world, and the utter destruction of our human rights, of our civil rights, of our constitutional rights, I would argue that in recent history, ever since the 1990s to now, George W. Bush was the worst president of our time. Some people would argue Barack Obama. Some people would argue Joe Biden. But overall, I think the track record doesn't lie here. Who do you believe is the worst president in recent American history in our lifetimes? I think it's George W. Bush. I think it's a failed ideology for a specific reason. I think that ideology is finally now being recalled and now being at the RNC last year in 2024. Not seeing the Bushes, not seeing the Cheneys, not seeing the neoconservative wing of this party gone. Not being a part of this Republican National Convention was a beautiful sight to see. But their ideology still lives on with Ben Shapiro clearly, and I think it's a little bit outdated. Do you agree, or do you think I'm wrong? Let me know what you thought I got wrong here. I always appreciate the constructive criticism. I always appreciate you guys reaching out and saying, yeah, you were wrong. Well, let's discuss it, and I think that discussion needs to happen more than ever. If you agree, share this video. Get a T-shirt. Wear your truths proudly on your chest. Again, really great to wear this at the supermarket, at the local bank, farmer's market, at the, you walk around. I love to walk. I love to walk now. Can't recommend walking enough. Super big health hack, by the way. Start walking around, and you'll start feeling a lot more freer, which I think we all should be. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/wearechange.